And Aaron Torres joining us on Halftime, host of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, also on Fox Sports Radio, good friend of the show, and in Vegas for the weekend. AT, what you got going on in Sin City?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm only here till tomorrow morning. I'm actually filling in on VSiN, the Vegas Sports Information Network. Did a show last night. Up early, watching some daytime college hoops. It is that magical time of year. I also, unbeknownst to me, probably your audience may know this, apparently NASCAR is in town, and so the city's buzzing. It feels good. I was here last year when all heck broke loose, and it's nice to feel a little bit of a sense of normalcy here as we enter March of 2021.
So this group that you're filling in for, this Visa, is that the group Brent Musburger has been doing stuff with for a while now?
It is. Yeah, they call it the Musburger Torres deal. Yeah, no, that's that is. Yeah, no, Brent. I haven't had the chance to meet Brent yet. I'm actually, it's kind of crazy. I'm standing about 10 feet, maybe not 10 feet, probably about a football field length away from the studio where he does his regular show called My Guys in the Desert. It's at the South Point Casino. That's where I'm staying. But I'm hosting the late night show, so it was fun. We were on from 10 to 1 Eastern. I guess that would be 9 to midnight Arkansas time or Central time. Last night we previewed what was to come today. Obviously tonight we will have a lot of conversation about a loaded slate Saturday. But as I said, you guys know it's just a fun time of year to be on the road. I mean, Phil, you get to obviously travel with the women's team and the baseball team, but fun time to be on the road, to just be, it's just great. It's starting to feel like normal. I did get yelled at for pulling down my mask about 30 seconds before you called. But other than that, we're back, baby. America, the country, we're back. Let's go.
Getting yelled at has never changed in the last year. That's been happening a lot before that. Anyway, we were talking earlier about, like, is this the year that the SEC does co-coach of the year? Because anything involving Arkansas always has a co next to it for anything of the year or of the week. I mean, no, it's seriously, AT, there's some truth to this. Like Chelsea Dungy a few weeks ago was ESPN's National Player of the Week for women's basketball. She was the SEC's co-player of that same week. You just don't see it all the time. It's crazy. But it feels like if I had to vote for Coach of the Year, I don't know how I would parse between Nate Oates and Eric Musselman in this league.
Well, first of all, I know you're lying, Phil, because Mason Jones should have won SEC Player of the Year last year, and it went to Emmanuel Quickley. But outside of that, and actually Quickley's awesome, but I did think it should have gone to Mason Jones. But it's a fascinating conversation, and I don't know what the answer is. And obviously, the two teams split. I think what Alabama did so early in the season was so incredible. I think it's also fair to look at the totality of Arkansas's resume and say, one, maybe it's more impressive, but two, more important than that, what has Arkansas been when they're at full strength? And this has been a drum that I've been beating not only with you guys, but with everything that I do since the middle of January. Even when Arkansas was losing, I said, I don't know the Razorbacks as well as you guys, but I feel like this Justin Smith guy is pretty important, so let's not judge this team until he comes back, until he's fully healthy. And then let's have a real conversation about them. Well, he came back. He's fully healthy. They've won 10 of 11, 10 straight SEC games. And they are, Phil, and I'm sure you guys saw this tweet, I don't think they're not only the hottest team in the SEC, I think there's a legitimate argument that they are playing as well and as locked in as anybody in the country. And I'll tell you this, Phil, you and I have been doing this stuff for a long time. Matt, obviously joined the party probably, 18 months ago or whatever. Phil, you and I have had to have a lot of awful conversations about the Razorbacks, football, basketball, whatever. It's really fun to see, the success of this program. And obviously, listen, I know Matt thinks they're my Hogs. They're really not my Hogs, but I'm happy for all the fans that you get to enjoy a winner and you get to enjoy a really fun team to watch.
Oh, they're your Hogs, AT. Let's not sell yourself short. You're a low-key Arkansas Razorback fan. It's because of Phil and obviously. It's
like Phil said, I'm a co-Arkansas and UConn fan. I'm a UConn fan, but I do enjoy the Razorbacks. And I told the story of I really jumped on the Razorbacks bandwagon when everyone was fleeing the bandwagon, which was when Arkansas played UConn in the PK 80 Invitational and Arkansas destroyed them. That was still in the Mike Anderson era. But But no, I followed this team closely, and I've been doing radio with Phil for years, and it's been fun to watch kind of the evolution and growth of this program. And I don't know if I talked to you guys about this last week or not, but I was one of those guys that said, should we have really fired Mike Anderson when it happened? And then, of course, when they brought in Muss, I was excited, but even this has exceeded my expectations.
Aaron Torres joining us here on Halftime. AT, I'm not going to insinuate that there's any like rumors or anything going on. I just want kind of what your opinion with this. You're seeing the openings that
Minnesota?
With Minnesota. You're possibly going to see. I want to ask you a little bit more about Arizona, Indiana, but you see some of these quote unquote blue blood programs that might be having openings, and particularly focus on Minnesota and some of these Pac-12 schools. Should Arkansas fans be worried at all about Musselman maybe jumping ship and going to the Pac-12 or any of these other openings?
So I'll tell you this. I did tell. I did tell one of your rivals, I guess you would say, in the media in Arkansas. Back probably when Coach Muss was at Nevada, I did hear. Listen, for people who don't know, he grew up in Minnesota. His dad was the longtime coach at Minnesota. And I heard, Coach Muss kind of reveres that Minnesota job, the barn, Williams Arena, as that's his personal Duke or Carolina. But that was before he got to Arkansas. And the thing I'll say about that job really quick, then we'll move on to the other ones, is as far as, Minnesota is concerned, a couple things is, one, there's nothing that Minnesota can offer that Arkansas cannot. That's one. And then two, beyond that, what I would also say is, and this is no disrespect to the SEC, the Big Ten's a grind right now. And so Minnesota can offer more money. They don't have anything facility-wise or financially that the Arkansas program can't provide. But then furthermore, the Big Ten's going to get 10 or 11 NCAA tournament teams, and maybe not 11, but, 9, 10, 8, somewhere in there. Michigan State is on the bubble, but they're just so fierce. And so I look at that program, and I just say, man, I just don't see the scenario where it makes sense to go to Minnesota at this time. Maybe Coach Muss loves Arkansas or loves Minnesota that much that he can't turn it down, but I just can't see that. And then, as far as Arizona's concerned, by the way, I would say this too, by the way. I talked about all of this extensively on Thursday's Aaron Torres podcast. I encourage people to go back and listen to it. As far as Arizona's concerned, I am hearing increasing rumors that Sean Miller, for people who don't know, he has 1 year left on his contract. It's kind of like a Jim Harbaugh situation in college football where you can't really expect a coach to coach with 1 year left on his deal because at that point there's negative recruiting. You really can't recruit for future classes. But I don't see the point in fighting for Sean Miller and defending Sean Miller from Arizona's perspective for 4 or 5 years and then let him go with 1 year left and then expect to hire a great coach in the middle of an NCAA investigation. And so I will tell you that I believe Arizona is probably one of the 5 best jobs in college basketball when it's a completely even playing field. But it's not an even playing field. And you're walking into an Arizona program that at that point, if Sean Miller were to be let go or not renewed or whatever, we're talking major level 1 violations, major level 2 violations. And you just kind of sit there and say, that's a big thing to walk into with no idea of what the future would hold. I'm not saying I have no idea what Coach Muss would do, and whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is I just think it'd be crazy to take the Arizona job for anybody right now, let alone a guy that's having the success that Coach Muss is having. And by the way, I'll just say this real quick, and I don't mean to keep going long, but, Will Wade has kind of an addendum in his contract that basically says, hey, if you're busted for Rule 1 violations, Level 1 violations, that we will not pay you a dime of your buyout. I just don't understand why Arizona doesn't extend Sean Miller for another 2 years with some kind of addendum like that. It just doesn't make sense for me to see Arizona parting ways with Sean Miller at this point after everything they've gone through and in the middle of an NCAA investigation.
I got one more here for you, and we're going to keep it on some on coach stuff here. How tall are you, AT?
Not as tall as I'd like. I'm probably about 5'10", 5'11". My co-host yesterday was 6'6". I felt like a small child, patting me on the head. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so as far as Jim Beiheim's concerned, you're allowed to have an opinion about basketball because you're not 5'2".
Gross. I'll say this is that
what's going on with him?
I'll say this is, first of all, I was critical of Coach K when he lambasted, I don't know what the right word is, the student reporter. this was even worse because, I mean, to make it so personal, it was just gross. And, listen, I think everybody's a little frustrated right now, but I don't think there's a place for that. And I think there's a place, by the way, for coaches and players to question the media. We're not above reproach here in the media, but I mean, to make it so personal, it was just so weird. And I'll say this, man, I mean, I'll tell you, I was at UConn in 2006 when Jim Beiheim said, that there was a demand that Jerry McNamara was overrated, and Jim Beiheim went to the podium and said, we wouldn't have won, whatever it was, 10 effing games without Jerry McNamara. So, I mean, he's one guy that hasn't been afraid to really speak his mind, but I also think that that he's at some points crossing the line, and it's just not necessary, man. It's like, it's been a tough year for everybody. I know your team's not doing as well as you expected, but reporters are allowed to ask questions, and I don't know, man. I didn't really answer your question, Phil, but I just thought, listen, we're all doing the best to do our job, and I'm not the guy that defends the media no matter what, but that just seems so out of bounds and unnecessary.
Yeah, no reason to get personal, and certainly when it comes to stuff like that. AT, have a great weekend out there in Vegas. Don't put too much money down on this NASCAR race, okay?
Hey, I won some big bets last night trying to find a future. Arkansas future, not too bad. Thanks, guys. Also, Phil, are you proud of me? Jerry McNamara, wouldn't have won 10 effing games, did not drop an F-bomb on your
well
show.
Done.
So, thanks, guys.
I wasn't going to mention it. I would have sent a text, but you put it out there, so very well done.
That is a real quote. That's not my quote. That's Jim Beiheim's quote.
Aaron Torres.